Welcome to the Gorgeous Gray podcast. I am Nicole Scott, your host, registered holistic nutritionist, rest mindset coach, author of the Gorgeous Gray movement, and the co-creator of the Menopause Reset program. In this podcast, we have real conversations about aging as a woman and all the pressure and uncertainty we feel as we head into menopause and beyond. Let's face it, aging is not an easy conversation to have. But I say it's time to talk about the messy middle and offer hope when we feel like giving up on ourselves. Let's talk about our fears around gray hair, our muffin tops, and even our dry, itchy vaginas and everything in between. I will help you reconnect to your feminine energy and offer real solutions from experts in their field to navigate aging as a woman. I believe we, as women, deserve to shine even brighter in this next chapter of life. So with a sense of humor and a lot of compassion, let's dive into these vulnerable conversations. Hello, my beautiful, gorgeous women out there listening to this amazing episode. I have a special guest. Cynthia Abbott, also known as Cindy Abbott, is here with me today in the studio. Thank you, Cindy, for being here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You guys are in for such a treat. We're going to go deep on many topics. Of course, we're going to talk about aging and menopause. I'm going to give you a little bit of background of who Cindy is, a professional. She is a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. She's a registered acupuncturist. She's also a medical Qi Gong practitioner and teacher. And she's also a dear friend. I am so grateful that we have had this beautiful, over a decade and a half relationship that my sister introduced us to when she used to work as a massage therapist years ago in Calgary. And now we're together here in Ontario. So Cindy, I'm so grateful that you could join. I know that your schedule is quite busy. You're a mama bear, busy practice. You do a lot. You wear a lot of hats, and it took us a couple months to get her booked in because she's a healer and helps so many people. So again, thank you. So let's dive in. Let's talk about this birthday you just had. You hit the big 50. And for some of us, we get so devastated that, is this midlife? Are we over the midlife? Our brain starts to go into these squirrely stories. I want to hear from you. What has it been like as you built up to this big, half a century birthday? What has it been like for you?
Good question. It's been an interesting journey because I work with a lot of women that are going through, this time, and it's always like I'm there to support. But being through it myself as a woman was kind of an interesting journey. Like I found the weeks leading up, there was so much grieving. Like that's what I was really surprised. It was like who I was and what I thought quotation marks thought I would be, or who I'd be, was kind of falling. It was kind of falling, kind of like because it's fall. So when my birthday, it was like the leaves falling.
Yeah.
And there was like a deep grief. Like I was really surprised about that. Like I did a lot of crying and a lot of soul searching and a lot of questioning. And then on my birthday, I went to Grail Springs. Have you ever been there?
It
is like this amazing place.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I arrived and then it hit me. I don't know, like the name is Grail Springs. And if you think of the Grail, it's kind of like the womb. Yeah. And then Springs is like the feminine. And it was like I came home to myself. Yeah. And I burst out into tears, but in a sense of gratitude of who I am as a woman. Yeah. And then I went up to my room, and my room overlooked the water. And it was that same gratitude of I'm coming home to myself. And it was almost like I passed the threshold and I was like, I'm okay with me. And I love 50. It was almost like something inside of me for the first time is okay with who I am. And that was huge. It's kind of like all the things that I strive for. I strive to get a title, strive for that. It doesn't matter. it's this love of myself, and there's something that's changed, and the gratitude of each moment. And it was getting to the point that like I would go for a walk, and I love nature, but I could actually really breathe in the pine trees and really breathe how like how precious life is, and
Mm.
how these last years, many years, this is the time for me. And that was what hit me is in Chinese medicine. And I know this time that as women, as we change, is called the second spring. And I
Mm.
didn't really understand that until the moment now. And it's like, okay, Cindy, you've got a few more years, I keep saying few, many years. Who am I? And what is it that I want to, what is growing inside of me? And am I going to listen? So not listening to
Mm.
what the external world says I should be as a woman, but
Yeah.
am I? And what is ready to grow within me? And this is sort of, I don't know,
Wow.
it's just, it's almost like there's something really sacred that's happened in the last while, and a deeper
Mm.
appreciation of women. Like as we
Mm.
go through our journey as like a mom, whether you're a mom or not, or
Yeah.
a career, and
Yeah.
then you come to this next stage. And this, I don't know, it feels like this is the yummy stuff now. Because the freedom of like trying to please or be something other than myself is kind of, now it's really about me. And so that's
Mm.
new, kind of a little scary because what's going to show up, and exciting. So
Oh,
yeah,
I love how you described it as kind of like I'm coming into that yummy space.
yeah, yeah, right, right.
That
The juicy,
delicious
like,
chapter,
but
that
juicy,
juicy
like juice.
peach.
Yeah, yeah, right.
I love that. And I loved how you just shared like your authentic approach to it and how, what it's meant to you. Because I know that's going to land, I
Yeah,
think, with a
yeah.
lot of women, is it can show up very differently for so many of us. But I love how you say that in Chinese medicine that there are seasons. So we're very close in age. I'm going to be 52 this year. You're 50. I just celebrated my 1 year menopause birthday. Now I technically am in post-menopause. So, the day that a woman dreams of no more period and they do the happy dance, right? I don't have to worry about having babies anymore. But with that comes real big changes in our bodies because once we stop producing the eggs and our ovaries are making estrogen, progesterone, and that all stops, things change in our body. And I'm sure that you see that as a health professional. So I want to dive in a little bit about this season that you talk about. What does it mean in Chinese medicine when a woman ends up moving into a new season, which we call menopause?
So I would like say from a Chinese medicine perspective, a lot of times I hear from Western women is like, oh, I've got the curse of menopause or whatever. Like I've got
Yeah.
the hot flashes and I've got this, but this is actually a time of real rebirth, and it's like a second spring. And so
Mm.
what I mean by that is if you think of like the fall where the leaves start to go, what was starts to fall away, as you go in there, as things fall, you're falling deeper in yourself. And so
Mm.
if you think of a womb, I'm just going to use a womb, but that doesn't mean giving birth to a baby. It's a womb, it's a place of potential, a seed. And so if you think of the winter time where things are under the ground, it looks very quiet, but the seeds are there, the potential. And so if it's quiet and nourished, that seed will start to grow into a new spring. And so then it comes alive. And then from there, the summer, the full expression. So this is the second spring for women, where instead of birthing, say, a child, you're birthing yourself. And so, meaning this is a time where we have to get in the yin state. So in Chinese medicine, we talk about yin and yang a lot. So yin is that time of slowing down. It's the time to deeply listen, nourishment. It's nighttime, it's cool, it's moist. It's that, it's very yin, feminine, the feminine. The yang is that spark, that let's get out there, that most societies like that. Let's get going, busy, fire, go, 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 go. So as we start to get into the second spring, that yin is a time that we really have to nourish, which means allowing that head brain to be like, I need to go here, 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 or that pushing emotion to settle in yourself. And I use the womb because it's a place where you can be really calm and listen. What is it that I'm not listening from my head or my high emotions? I'm listening to my body. What is my body telling me? Oh, I need to rest. Okay, I'm not going to push. Oh, my body's saying I'm really feeling a bit edgy. I need to go for a walk, or I need to do run, or whatever it is. But there's an importance of listening. And when we do this, but then it goes even further. It's listening to that spark. What I really want to do is my biggest expression in life is I want to be a writer. What are you going to listen to that and trust it? Not the force, but the listen.
Right.
And what happens in that place is a lot of times the symptoms that we say are bad settle. So in Chinese medicine, I hope this isn't too much information.
No, this is so
Okay.
good. I'm
Okay.
loving it. I'm taking it all in because you and I haven't really had a deep talk
Yeah.
about this conversation. So what you're teaching is so new and refreshing for me too as a woman, and it's making so much sense.
So if you think we're not all the same, so everyone's going to show different patterns. So this is like a general. So we're going to have other patterns connected, but in general, the kidneys, that is our like mojo. That's our spark of potential. The kidneys energy. So it's not just like in the West, the physical kidneys, it's an energetic system. So the kidneys tends to get a little depleted as we age, but it transforms to wisdom. And so the kidneys govern the endocrine system, they govern the adrenals, our hair, our head of hair, our bones, our brain, our vitality, our sexual energy. So this is considered a treasure. It's a jing. It's the potential. What is that potential? If we don't foster and nourish this as it's a treasure, it will tend to get what is called a kidney yin deficiency or a deficiency. So I wanted to say at the beginning, I said yin is nighttime. So if we don't nourish this, we don't watch our stress levels, we don't listen to our body, we have too much overstimulating like coffee or sugar, or that's too depleting on our adrenals or our kidneys, we're going to have what is called a yin deficiency or an empty heat. And that's when we'll start to get the night sweats. That's when we'll start to get, because the heat, if you think of heat, it rises, we'll start to rise. So we'll get flushed, we'll get emotional, we'll get all these things. And then we'll say, but so then the body's saying something's out of balance. Are you going to listen? So that's where we take the pause. And I like to say, go to the womb or the lower belly. I know womb sometimes can be an uncomfortable word. So it doesn't mean whether you have the organs or not. It's a place where we let everything settle. We take a pause and we listen. And I'm amazed when I work with women, how disconnected they are to this area. Also, when they listen, they're like, oh, my body just told me, instead of pushing to work out, I need to do some yoga now. Or my body just told me this. Or my body said, trust the process. This is what I need to do. And so we learn to build this relationship with ourselves. And what happens is the body starts to balance. So we tend to have something that happens out of balance. We either say there's something wrong with us. We look to everyone else. Sometimes maybe the inner guidance is going to be go to a doctor. So I'm not saying that, but it's the time to listen. And if we do, we're going to be guided to the right people. But usually what happens is we get a reaction, we get in fight or flight, the heat goes higher, the reactions go higher, and we're disconnected to what the body's saying is, come home, settle down, slow down, and listen. So in saying that, there's also patterns that can be also connected. So sometimes we'll notice patterns like, I am so irritable. I am so edgy. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm screaming at everyone. when we settle, sometimes it's that I need to get movement. Maybe I need to make a change. So this is called liver chi stagnation. Maybe I need to get things moving, or I need to exercise more, but we start to listen. And so that's, I think, where the second spring is. This is the body saying, listen to me. This, slow down and listen. And what'll happen is those juicy parts will be like, this is what I really want to do. I get out of my head of like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And panicking, because that's very, that empty heat again. Okay, what's the first step? Step by step by step, listen. And it won't go wrong.
So so a woman is listening to this and she's like, you talked about like the hot flashes and, overheated or the emotions flowing. What are some things women can do right away, like in your background of acupuncture and Chinese, that they could start to maybe help reduce the symptoms?
So some of the symptoms would be, I would say, I would take a pause, first of all, and tune into your body before, because there's a millions of things that you can do in regards to diet. There's a millions of things with exercise. There's a million things, but first of all, stop. Because sometimes we'll say, oh, I'm doing all the things, but inside, what are you feeling like inside? So if you took a pause, like we could even do this for a second. If you put your feet on the ground, you place one hand at your heart and one hand at your lower belly, which I love the term for this in Qigong, which is ovarian palace. So you're sitting in the seat of who you are. Yes, you're having a hot flash, but we're just going to pause right now. You're feeling yourself connected to the earth, which is the yin, so you're held. Chances are, if there's a hot flash, the system's gotten really red, so we want to do the opposite. So feeling your feet on the ground and take an awareness. What am I noticing in my body right now? Okay, there's a lot going on. You're going to take a little bit of a sit back. So there's a presence there. And so meaning you're not judging yourself. You're just holding yourself in a place of, okay, right now there's a big reaction in my body, whether it's a hot flash. Then you're going to call yourself back. So meaning taking a couple of deep breaths, slowing yourself down. So taking an inhale and a slow exhale. And see if you can start to breathe from your belly. So you want to feel that place of that lower belly. So a slow inhale. And each exhale is a little bit longer because you're bringing yourself down a notch. So it takes a bit of time. And from here, you're going to bring your awareness to that womb area, meaning you're feeling your sits bones, feeling your sacrum, and notice if it's easy to settle there or is the mind busy. So letting the mind settle a little bit, your emotions settle, and just noticing what you feel here. And this can be, maybe it's really easy for you to be here, or maybe it's a bit strange. And then from here, do a gentle Kegel. So you're just going to be doing a gentle lift, but this is an interesting one. It's like you're doing a gentle lift of lifting up a blueberry, but not making blueberry jam. So there's like this real gentleness. That's the yin. We can't allow the body to cool down and soften if we're rushed and force and panic. So it's like you're doing a gentle squeeze as you inhale and slowly landing as if you're being held on moss. So there's this holding here.
So we've got the blueberry and we're just imagining the blueberry and we're
letting
go.
And then let go with your exhale. And it's
let go of it, the blueberry, like we're releasing the blueberry.
Yeah, and the Kegel.
And the
Kegel. It's landing, it's softening, and you're being held on. So there's this sense of being held here.
Yeah.
So the energy isn't going up. So everything, when you have a hot flash, the yang energy is going up and there's no root.
Okay.
So then we soften the head and the emotions first. And then you're taking a notice do I feel in my body now? Because our reaction is going to create more of it. And this is the part where you can get a sense of what you feel here. And maybe that'll be just enough. It'll calm down. Or maybe you're going to get a felt sense of the body.
I love that. I know that you and I started this before with the grounding exercise of breath, and something that I have learned over the years is just a couple, like 3 deep breaths, just to kind of get me back in my body. It was, I think, one of my biggest lessons as a woman is I'm a type A and I'm a just go, that I never was in touch with my breath and I didn't take time to slow down. And I think women can relate that if you were, in that lifestyle of like from morning to night, and then when you hit the bed and you like in 2 minutes or 1 minute and you're like falling asleep, and you do that 7 days a week, right? And then you come into this area of menopause and you're done, right? Like you're done. Your body is just like been run over like with a freight truck. So let's talk about this a little bit. You see a lot of women and they come into this season of menopause, and talk about the difference between, this woman that maybe doesn't have symptoms and this woman that has a lot. What do you see are the biggest difference in two types of women when it comes to the symptoms?
It's interesting because like one thing I wanted to add to that is also with like, if you think when the body is slowing down,
Yeah.
but we're keeping that pace that was before, like fast, 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 and the body
Yeah.
wants to relax, but you're at a
Yeah.
10 with your nervous system.
Yeah.
You're firing.
Yeah.
And then try to go to sleep on that. What's
Right.
going to happen is the heat is going to be so high, but the body's exhausted to not take root. And so that's why I was focused on bringing down. You want to have a root,
Right.
anchor some of that heat. So then we add, oh, well, I want to stay up. I want to get going a little more. I'm tired. I'm going to try alcohol, just going to create more heat.
Right.
There's no root, or I'm going to have a coffee in the morning. So there's this running on this. How do you bring yourself down notch by notch by notch? And so that's that type A that is like go, go, go adrenaline. Yeah. But then tired, but can't come down. You're going to see that, or you're going to see something where it's the opposite, where a woman is like, can be the opposite, where you're so cold. Your body is so tired, the heat is gone and you're freezing cold. So what are you doing for that? Are you using foods like soups and stews to nourish you?
Yeah.
That is good. So we're creating, so what I'm trying to say is you're listening to yourself. Okay, the environment is this. Maybe it's hot, maybe it's cold.
Yeah.
What am I going to do to nourish this? I'm my baby now. I'm taking care, like I am my child. This second spring is valuable, but I have to nourish myself to have the energy to do it. So I've taken care of everyone else. Now I've got to listen. Okay, you're cold. Okay, common things that you wouldn't even think of. Keep your feet warm. Having ginger, turmeric, the warm soups, the bone broth, anything that's going to keep you nice and warm.
Yeah.
For someone that's really cold. Kidneys warm, a hot water bottle. These are things that you can do. You want to create a home, especially in your lower belly, that is warm and cozy, versus you've got the opposite. You've got this empty heat. You're fast, fast, fast. Okay, how are we going to settle yourself? So things like at the end of the day, you're at a 10, you're exhausted, but how are you going to bring yourself down so that you can cool off? Maybe it's going to be some gentle Qigong or yoga or a little bit of movement, getting off the TV, anything that's highly stimulating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that so that you can come down to 8, 9, 10 instead of the body going, okay, now I'm asleep and all this heat is trying to clear out. You're supporting yourself. So those can be kidney yin, kidney yang deficiencies. There's also liver qi stagnation, which is a pattern, which is a type A woman who is so focused, so stressed out, is like edgy, angry as hell, road raging, pissed off at everyone. How are you going to release this energy? So this can be a common one that you see. And so we want to do things to smooth the liver. Maybe it's going to be breathing. Maybe it's going to be, you have more movement. Maybe you're going to dance. Maybe you're going to do a silence. You're going to do a scream in your pillow. Get the energy out and then come back and nourish. Because if you just nourish yourself and you're angry, you're kind of fighting with that.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm listening to you. That's where I was saying, if you can take the pause and listen, you're going to see, okay, what's going on in my environment? What do I need to support myself? Because in some ways, the goal is I'm planting a seed of potential that is going to grow in me. And I want to do everything I can to make it clear the way for it.
I
So,
love that. That is, and I love how you gave some really good ideas for that type A woman that,
oh, I thought of one more. Sorry.
oh yeah, throw it
A
out there.
damp
Yeah.
woman. A damp woman. It could be so it could be you could be cold and damp. So you could be gaining weight. You've got like a damp feeling in your body, like you just
Yeah.
feel like a weighted blanket.
Mm-hmm.
So this can be another pattern. So, and you could be cold. There's not the fire of digestion to help digest that. So these are the women that you might, I mean, listening first, because there's a part that there's deficient, but you're going to want to get rid of anything damp that's not supportive of damp. So that could be maybe the sugars and the carbs, but again, you're coming back and listening. But the dampness is usually there's not the heat to move through, and there's too much of this damp. So that's where we want to look at, oh, maybe there's too much damp forming stuff like milk, sugars, all those kind of things. And we're going to listen again and getting a little bit of movement. So maybe we're going to do, if we have the energy, we'll start with walking, maybe a little bit of running movement, and then doing things to also nourish, like, that kind of thing. But there's that pause to really listen what's going on in the body. So we're not all this, like you were saying,
Yeah.
we're going to experience things differently,
Right.
but we meet ourselves as there's not a problem more than I'm here to support myself, because this second spring is so precious of me expressing truly who I am in the world as myself or for myself. So I'm listening and nourishing, and then seeing what comes from that as
That's
well.
amazing. So let's do a quick summary. So of the types. So you mentioned the damp. So if a woman has dampness in her body, her symptoms could be like sluggish metabolism, weight gain, cold.
Yeah, cold. If it's cold, damp, sinus congestion, foggy head. Like think of
Okay.
having a damp blanket on you. You have no.
No energy, like there's no
Yeah.
vitality to kind of get up and go. So you're saying with women that are feeling like that, especially as they head into like this menopause stage, that you want them getting. So what you mentioned, dairy is a food that would
Could
not
be like, yeah,
could
that's where
be
you want to listen to dairy
dairy,
and
sugar,
sugars and
alcohol,
alcohol. Yeah.
coffee.
Coffee, I mean, in general, coffee, because it's depleting on the kidneys, but it might be something to
Yeah.
look at too.
Okay.
And I was just thinking another thing to do are simple things like anything to move the lymph, like, dry brushing, tapping on your body, those kind of things that are getting that movement.
Yeah.
So you think of a damp basement. We want to do things to get it dried out,
Right.
right? Then
Okay.
creating.
How about the trampoline? The mini
Yeah,
trampoline.
it would be a really good one. That's perfect. That would be a really
Okay.
great one, because you're getting that fluid moving, right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then how about an infrared sauna?
So again, listening. So for some women, after they do the sauna, this is why I'm saying the key point when I started was listen in your body and notice how you feel. So if I do the infrared and I'm exhausted every time, maybe that is either too long. So it's
Yeah.
not, so it's more, can be helpful, yes, because it's warming and drying, so it can be helpful, but you want to also feel, how do I feel after? Than doing all the things, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah,
So,
it totally does.
so the biggest take home I would say is taking those moments of pause and listening to the body, not from the head, not from necessarily high emotion, but listening and lower to that inner knowing, if that makes sense. And it's a
Yeah.
practice. And that's why if you can start to breathe in your lower belly and start to just get a relationship with yourself,
Right.
body, it's going to be easier to trust that, because it might be everyone's saying that I should do the infrared, but then when I keep sitting in myself, it doesn't feel right. Probably
Okay.
chances are, listen to that.
Right. I
if
love
that makes
that
sense.
message.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It totally does. And I mean, I've gone through that journey of, I think I'd be like, I thought that the infrared sauna was like, I got to be in there like 6 days, 7 days a week. And then realizing it was too much for my body. I was feeling more drained than it was supporting me, right? At times when I was healing my adrenal glands, right? So maybe 3 times a week was max, not 5 or 6 times. So that's one thing that you've definitely have taught me is like tune
Tune
into your
in. Yes.
body, right? You had mentioned earlier on that you're doing some work around the sacred womb awakening. I think we've got maybe to end on our beautiful episode is a little bit of education about what does it mean to do work around sacred womb awakening? What are you learning on this journey? And I know you're starting to work with clients, and it's so fascinating to me because I think this is just beautiful work.
So it's interesting. Actually, another acupuncturist Qigong, uh, I guess, fellow um, colleague had recommended me to join this women's program, I guess, in the UK, called Sacred Womb Awakening, and it's a woman, Anne Bromley. And so I ended up joining it and then doing it for a year. And now I'm mentoring and teaching as well and using it with my patients. But it was an interesting way of leadership from a divine feminine point of view, meaning that we allow the inner feminine to take the lead. So it's not the head or the masculine, like that push, 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 but allowing us to settle in the womb. And as we do that and we trust, it awakens this level of ourselves that maybe we weren't even aware of. And so if you think of the awakened mind, there's like the illuminated mind where we can really feel like we're all one. In the heart, there's that sense of love, the awakened heart. But there's also this next level of the awakened womb. And this is where we can lead from this place, where we start to come from a deep listening inside ourselves, and the magic starts to happen. And so it's a changing in a way of being in yourself, but allowing this part of ourselves to be awakened, because there's a whole inner world within us that we can connect in us and then express it in the world. And so it really landed well with me because it blends completely well with traditional Chinese medicine, Qigong, and the work is quite transformational. So it's been a really incredible journey, and especially for me, as a woman, changing myself. So, or continuing to grow. So,
Wow, that is so cool. I can't wait to talk to you more about that. How can people get a hold of you? Because I know that you do some work online now with people that kind of can tune in all over the world. How can they get a hold of
so
you?
I have a website. It's cindyabbott.com. So that would be the best way. And then you can contact me through there. And I do privates, I do classes, and then I'm going to do also probably bigger group work in the new year.
That is so
Yeah.
exciting, getting this
Yeah, it's
information out there
yeah.
to more women, right? Maybe have to incorporate you into my menopause reset program with my menopausal women so we can do some work and some exercises. I
Yeah,
think that would
yeah.
be incredible. So, as we close off this episode, what would be um, your top 5 tips that you would offer women as they're heading into the season of menopause, how they can best prepare themselves so that they can reduce the symptoms and not suffer so much? What would be your top 5 tips?
So, well, my biggest one would be start to listen to your body. The body knows, I think, like the body keeps score. There's a really good book on that, but the body knows. So starting to take the time daily, and sometimes it seems silly because we want to rush and do 50 million things. Pause and really listen inside yourself. Also, so in doing that, starting to listen about exercise and that kind of thing, what feels the best and fills
Mhm.
me.
Okay.
That These are good. Qigong, yoga have been my go-to. Being out in nature, hugging a tree,
Mm,
breathing in nature. Gratitude practices are another really great one as well.
yeah.
And also for women, I've noticed as soon as you get off red wine and limit coffee, the symptoms do go down. So
So those are
those would
Those,
be big ones to do. Yeah. And
yeah.
there's such good acupressure points, like another time, and breathing techniques that can be so helpful for that. So those would be my others, that there's certain points that I would press daily on myself that they're like lifesavers.
I love that. Well, ladies, we have given you so much information to think about in this episode. I think the biggest message that I got from you, Cindy, especially as a woman in menopause, is the importance of slowing down and tuning in. I think, I mean, that's free.
Yeah,
People are like,
right?
I can't afford a
Yeah.
medicine, functional medicine doctor. I can't afford, fancy tests. We all have really the answers inside. And I'll share quickly one story. I have spent a lot of money on fancy tests, I'm going to tell you. One of them was a fancy test around DNA, where I got to really have and understand the story of my DNA. And I got to be on Zoom call with one of the top, um, doctors in this field. And I was so honored to have him for an hour to go through my DNA. But what was so fascinating that I had spent all this money, to understand about, the cancer or the, risk of heart disease and, all these different markers. What I was so impressed with myself was a lot of the stuff that was being confirmed by the report, the DNA testing, the doctor. I already knew.
Um,
I already knew. I already knew that alcohol from a young age did not serve my body well, but my DNA test confirmed that. Right? And even working with you, Cindy, over the years, right? You always knew when I was putting too much alcohol in my body. Because when you would hit my liver point, oh my gosh, would I scream and swear. I would swear when the needle went in and the needle would pop out. I could never hide my bad habits from Cindy. Could
what's
I?
funny is the liver 3 point. I'll have patients say, "Don't do liver 3. I've been drinking wine." Because you literally, yeah,
Right? Again, our body knows. So I mean, get a good practitioner like Cindy. I'm so grateful that I've been under her, treatment plan, I guess you would say. I call it my preventative plan, where she's just been in my life. And I just feel like we have such a beautiful, deep connection because you know everything about my life. I'm an open book, and she knows when I'm really good and she knows when I'm really bad. And when I fall off the wagon in my life, whether it's emotional or food or the whole bit, it shows up. I don't have to say anything. But my cells know and my organs know. And Cindy, when she starts to play with my body and those little needles, my body tells her, right? Like the body's the puzzle, isn't it? And you get to kind of come in and go, ooh, we're unbalanced here. And ooh, there's something going on here. And oh, look at your tongue. And, it's just beautiful. So I appreciate the work that you do and the number of people that you help. And I love that you're expanding. You continue to expand. I already introduced you to she does this and this and this and this, and she keeps on upgrading. And I love hanging out with people that love to just keep on upgrading their skill set because we get to share that with the rest of the world. So Cindy, my friend, thank you for your knowledge. I will definitely have you back where we can maybe even do some more exercises. You taught us a little bit about the exercise of tuning in, but I'm sure we can go a lot deeper on that front next time. So thank you again, my friend. You are so awesome and so appreciate you.
Thank you. That was super fun. Thanks. And you know how I feel about you. You are such a catalyst of change and so empowering to so many women that I just adore and respect you so much as a woman and as a human. So it's an honor and a pleasure to do anything with you. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Until next time. I want to say thank you for listening to today's episode. If this message landed for you, make sure to leave a review and tag me, Nicole Scott at Gorgeous Gray Movement, and make sure to share with your friends. You can head over to my free Facebook community, Gorgeous Gray Movement, or subscribe to my YouTube channel for more inspiring interviews. If you are still struggling and need additional support, you can take a look at my website, nicolescott.ca, and learn more about my new Menopause Reset program that I'm so excited for. Until next time, ladies, be well and own your sparkle.